Good morning, class. Your vocabulary word for today is triad. T-R-I-A-D. Noun, a group or set of three connected people or things. Triad.
Hello! I would like to welcome you to the Laramy-K Optician Works Training Center, where recently these videos surpassed the 1 million views mark on YouTube. So I get a lot of email, both from opticians and consumers. One of the questions I get all the time is, "Hey John, just what is the best progressive lens on the market?" Well, today we're going to answer that question. We're going to use the progressive lens triad. Now, I chose that word very deliberately, and I actually spent some time searching for the perfect word. Triad means that there is a relationship between three things that are dependent on one another. Crucial concept here. What we are seeking is the optimization of input from all three of those dependent pieces. Our pieces are the optician, the customer, and the lab. If we call this the best progressive lens possible. Now, if my perfect or best progressive lens is here, my optician's only doing an okay job, my customer has unrealistic expectations, and my lab's not so hot, you're going to be there. But if my lab knows what they're doing, I can get a whole lot closer to the best. If my customer has realistic expectations because we provided real education, not marketing we can get there. If I take my optician and we'll go over all this, they know what they're doing, most important lens design, we can get there. What was the last video about? That one there. There is no such thing as a perfect progressive lens. There is no best. They all have problems. It's the entire point of the last video. We can only get really close to the perfect theoretical model or lens that matches it. So when we do this, we can get closer and closer to the best possible lens. Opticians, we're going to go over these individually. Opticians, you have to work on your frame choice. We'll review that. Plenty of that stuff on the website. We need to understand lens design. Going to spend a whole lot of time on the bench with that, playing with some Play-Doh again. And we'll review real quick about taking good measurements. Customers, setting expectations, needs versus wants, lens powers, and of course the PAL rule, the progressive addition lens rule, which is what? Repeat it with me one more time. As power increases anywhere in a progressive lens, the sphere, the cylinder, or the add power, the overall distortion throughout the entire lens increases with it. You should know that by now. The lab, you're looking for a lab that both understands and applies optimizing both the software and the hardware that's being used to design that lens. Let's talk a little bit about you. What is the best progressive lens out on the market? Well, this isn't going to surprise you because this always ends up being the answer to everything. As the optician, as always, it comes down to you. You must, not a maybe or a sort of or anything. You must understand lens design, and that's where we're headed. You need to know if a particular progressive lens design favors distance, near, intermediate, sports, office, camber design, and you must always keep in mind that power progressive rule that I'm always going on about. You must guide the customer's frame choice. This is so critical. You have to think about the overall fit. You have to think of your lens tilt. You want that little bit of panto. You have to think of your wrap or your face form, that little bit that you need. You need to think of the bead. Make sure that you have enough depth to get that roughly 18 perfect, sweet, perfect fitting height. You have to look at vertex. Make sure that frame isn't buried against their face or sticking out here someplace. And you have to think about the overall size of it. You don't want the dinner plate 1970s special out there. You must pre-adjust and get good measurements. Now, when I say pre-adjust the frame, do not make yourself crazy, and more important, don't make your customer all creeped out by spending 25 minutes tweaking and adjusting and moving stuff around. If you made a good frame choice from the start, things were in standard alignment on the board, the customer is wearing the frame, says, yeah, this feels pretty good. Take a quick look, make sure you don't need any subtle adjustments on the nose pads, make sure nothing's riding up in the back on the temples or something, and move on. Get yourself some good measurements. I am talking about a good, solid, progressive fitting dot on that demo lens and a good monocular PD. I am not talking about point of wear measurements, the crazy wrap, tilt, angle, vertex stuff. We'll talk about that another day. I am not a fan. Sorry, online. This is the one part that you guys can't really do yet. Eventually, someday, probably. But for now, leave the online stuff to single vision. Progressives, you need to see that optician live, shall we say. Once you've got these things, you understand lens design, you make good frame choices, you get good measurements. Listen to your customer, talk with your customer, be able to explain and educate while you're guiding them towards this particular lens design, particular frame, and what you're doing when you're getting those good measurements. What do our customers need? Well, our customers need to see clearly. Now, what do they want? Well, they want everything. They want a lens that changes. They want a lens that reduces glare at night. They want a lens that is perfect, clear from their nose to their temporal for both distance, intermediate, and near. They want it to be lightweight. They want it to go into a fashion-forward frame. The list goes on and on. Why should they think that they can have all those things? Well, it's not their fault. TV tells them that they can, right? Their $5 million ads on their Super Bowl showing him or her that the newest, greatest lens that's out there is above and beyond every other one. Here's the thing, folks. There are no proprietary magic ingredients. There is no pixie dust. No one, and I mean no one, has anything that the competition doesn't have anymore. The tweaks being made to progressive lens design at this point are very, very important, but very, very tiny little increments now. There are no game changers. There is no revolutionary changes in the design. We have hit just about the top. We just have these little tweaks now. So there is no such thing as the perfect go-to single best progressive lens out there. It just doesn't exist. Every progressive lens should be as unique as the individual that's wearing it. The third piece in the progressive lens triad, the lab. And of course, Laramy-K makes some of the best progressive lenses in the world. I recently got an email from a gal who said, I've noticed you said that a couple of places. How do you really know? Well, we know in a couple of ways. One, we do wearer trials. We actually embrace them, look forward to them, raise our hand first. If a company comes to us and says, hey, we've got this new design, this new idea, this new technique, would you guys like to try it and do some wearer trials? We are first in line. Why wouldn't we be? So we do wearer trials and know what stuff works and what doesn't before we go implementing it. We have satisfied customers, and their customers are satisfied. As Janet always says, she likes to think of the consumer as our ultimate customer and the optician kind of being in the middle. And how do we know that we produce some of the best lenses in the world? By the actual comparison by a human of the model and the lens. I've talked about this before. Every progressive lens design, the software is a theoretical model. If we take the lens that we have just surfaced and put it into a dual lens mapper and examine that map, we can compare how close that real lens, that material, that chunk of plastic is to that theoretical perfect model. And our dual lens mapper tells us that we are really, really close to matching. So we take that and we combine it with a few other things. We combine it with the three little bears. One bed was too big, one was too small, and one was just right. We are in a size and a volume sweet spot. Obviously, we are not so small that we literally couldn't afford to purchase and operate freeform equipment on the scale that we do. But we're not so big that nobody's minding the store anymore. We're not so big that the quality of a single item doesn't matter. It's only the quality of random samples within a larger volume. That's not us. We're not Big Optical. We're not a one-man shop. We are in the volume sweet spot. We have been involved with freeform since it was proposed. We've been at this a really long time. We also have very unique relationships with our supply chain partners. They can come to us because we have this volume sweet spot and say, hey, try this out. Try this new technique. Try this new design. We can put it through. We can test it. We can get good statistical data because we have enough volume to make sure. And if we like it, we can react very quickly. We can implement a change across the entire lab in a matter of hours, days, or weeks, where that super lab, the big optical place that employs a couple thousand people and does several thousand jobs every single day, might take them a month, 6 months, or even a year. So the lab, the third piece of the progressive lens triad. I'm going to hit the bench and we're going to play with some Play-Doh again. A few minutes ago, I said that every progressive lens should be as unique as the individual wearing it. And today, that is the difference between progressive lenses. Like I said, we've really come about as far as we can go. And nobody, and I mean nobody, has any magic pixie dust. So it's in lens design where one lens might stand out over another. The entire concept of freeform lens design is putting the power of computing to work. A computer program takes everything into account. Lens powers, all of them, sphere, cylinder, axis, add. Lens design, or which style progressive lens we choose. More on that in a minute. And the frame parameters. Then it accounts for everything, and I mean everything, way beyond the comprehension that our little optician brains could ever begin to imagine. It takes all of that into account, and it creates the best possible lens for that individual. Then we feed that information into the hardware. Notice I don't say the perfect lens or the best lens, but the best possible lens. And that's an important distinction. That's the difference between education and marketing or advertising. Oh, before I forget, make sure you go back and watch the one simple trick to choose the best freeform lens every time, closely related to the stuff we're covering here, and just plain a great video. Let me grab the camera, bring it around here so that you can see what I'm doing, grab some Play-Doh, and let's talk some more about lens design. Before the introduction of freeform, lens design in progressives came down to a choice: hard design versus soft design. We talked about in the last video that we always will have that cylinder present, that unwanted cylinder off to the sides in a progressive lens. So let's go ahead and put that in there. And yeah, we always ended up with something that looked kind of like that, right? Familiar shape and a look, right? Distance, intermediate, near there. And a hard design would literally have an extremely deliberate, sharp edge. And the cylinder, you would keep piling it up, if you will. You'd be making it higher, more defined. You can see the three-dimensional look to it there. It would give you more usable space to put your visually clear areas. I mean, that opens that up a little bit more. But as soon as you went from this clear to here, it was very sudden. This was so high, this was so optically garbage that it made people sick. It caused what was known as swim. So what happened was they ended up doing soft designs, in which case you blend, you make those transition zones from that clear, sharp optical more gradual, smooth. But you can see what happens. What am I doing? I'm losing corridor. I'm losing reading. I'm losing distance. That was a soft design. So, obviously everything today is a compromise. What freeform does is it has the ability, again, through that computing power, to examine where it can put the hard, where it can put the soft. So because, of course, of the way our eye rotates, moves left, right, in for convergence, distance, what the lens is favoring, distance, intermediate, near, sports, where it is best to put a little hard, where it's best to put a little bit of soft, and be a good compromise between them. So that is your difference between a hard design and a soft design. And of course, freeforms are a combination of the two. After that, it all comes down to taking all of those things we just talked about and deciding where we want to push the cylinder. And this comes down to, what do I want my lens to do? And it really, in simple terms, I said the computing power is literally, the original designs of these things are done on supercomputers. There is so much that's taken into account. But for simplicity's sake, we've got our cylinder, unwanted cylinder, always present in the progressive lens. The wider range of powers that the lens needs to cover, it has to equal more Play-Doh. And what the computer does is say, what does this lens favor a little bit? This lens is going to favor nice wide intermediate, fairly good reading size, but it's kind of compromised up here in the distance, isn't it? That's not really a whole lot of favorable room. So this would be a lens that favors intermediate and near. Now, if I wanted to push down my distance a little bit, open that up, well, what happens? Whoops, look at that. My corridor is closing up. I'm moving this down. I'm closing this off. So this lens might favor distance a little bit more. A balanced lens might be a compromise somewhere in that area. Some decent distance, decent sized corridor, and decent sized reading area. Wouldn't be great for any of them, but it wouldn't favor necessarily one or the other either. The only way to get more out of a progressive lens is to ask less of it. Hence the office lens, right? If I only need intermediate and near, this is intermediate building into my near, look at how much room I can have. I can have all kinds of room, all kinds of space. I can be real open corridor, real big area to work up top as an intermediate, down through here, have a good size reading area that I can work at on my desk. Why? Because I'm not asking it to give me distance, intermediate, and near. I'm only asking it for intermediate and full near. So it really all comes down, and rather than super high complex supercomputers, basically to pushing Play-Doh. So let's say I wanted to do a sports lens, driving lens. I want huge area up here for my distance. Intermediate and near really don't matter a whole lot. I only want them there in case I should need them in a pinch. And I'd have something like that. Good, great vision all the way across, out to my mirrors on each side. Anywhere I wanted to see off to the edges. And there. So it all comes down. Lens design. What is it? Lens design, pushing Play-Doh. That's it. That cylinder has to be there, as we know. Nothing you can do about that. It all depends on where we place it. And we trust the supercomputer to decide the best distribution, or what was our word of the day? Optimization of where that goes. Well, I don't want to break your heart, but the answer to the question, what is the best progressive lens out on the market today, is there isn't one. I am not going to give you a brand name. I'm not even going to say Laramy-K. I'm not going to say Essilor, Zeiss, or Hoya. I'm not going to name a particular brand under their umbrella, or ours either. The best progressive lens on the market today is the one that is the combination of those things that we just talked about. Now, Laramy-K does provide you with great optician education, consumer education, and as I've mentioned, we do produce some of the finest lenses in the world. So I would ask that you give us a try. You need to work with your customer. You need to know about lens design. Then you give us a call. Working together, we can produce the very best progressive lens for your individual customer. Thanks. With a +2 add. One more time.